But at neuroscience, you talk about neurotransmitters. What sort of conditions are we talking about? Is this brain health? Is it depression issues? What sort of things do you guys focus on?
Well, at neuroscience, one of our key beliefs is that the nervous system runs the show. And it's very important because